Imagine the first truly cold night of your life. Wind cuts your face, your fingers won't bend, your body shakes with shivering. You have no fur, no fat. Your body is built for the heat of the African savanna, and around you it's minus 20 degrees, and the night lasts 16 hours. By all the laws of biology, you shouldn't live to see morning, and yet people settled glacial Europe and Siberia. How did a naked tropical primate survive its first winter? Let's work through it using finds and bones. The first to leave warm Africa were our distant ancestors around 2 million years ago. Further to the north awaited them something the human line had never yet encountered: real winter. Every step toward the pole took away warmth and demanded a new solution. First, understand how poorly suited humans are to cold. We sweat to cool down. In heat, this saves us. In winter, wet skin and damp clothes kill faster than the frost itself. The body holds 37 degrees at any cost. If it cools by a couple of degrees, consciousness fades further down, and the person dies. So survival is possible only one way. Don't let heat escape. Ancient people found 4 solutions for this. First and most important, fire. In Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, traces of fire about 1 million years old were found. At first, fire was simply taken from lightning and wildfires. Later, people learned to make it themselves. By friction or a spark from striking flint, the campfire gave warmth, light through the long night, and protection from animals. It was also used to cook. Cooked meat gives the body more energy than raw. More energy in winter meant more chances of not freezing. The fire was guarded, embers kept alive all night in shifts. Losing the fire in the cold meant losing the whole group. Second solution, clothing. The date when humans started wearing clothes was learned from lice. Body lice live only in clothing and fabric folds. It split off from head lice around 170,000 years ago. That's when our ancestors began wrapping themselves in hides. At first, the hide was simply thrown over the shoulders, but wind blows through a cape and warmth escapes. What was needed was clothing sewn to fit the body, and that's where the needle comes in. In Denisova Cave in the Altai, a bone needle with an eye was found. It is about 50,000 years old and 7 centimeters long. The needle was used to sew hides into pants, jackets, hoods, and footwear in layers. Air between layers of fur holds warmth best. Footwear and mittens were stuffed with dry grass and moss. Hide was first scraped and worked for a long time to make it soft. A single warm outfit took several people days of work. Third solution, shelter. At first, people hid in caves and under rock overhangs, but caves aren't everywhere, and out on the open steppe cold pursued them everywhere. So people started building shelters themselves. At Majirik, in present-day Ukraine, huts made of mammoth bones were found. They are about 15,000 years old. A single hut used the bones of dozens of animals. The frame was built from bones, walls made of jaws, with hides stretched over the top. Inside, a hearth, sleeping platforms and supplies, a small warm world in the permafrost. Snow was piled against the walls. It kept heat from escaping outside. Several such huts together formed a winter settlement. The fourth solution worked on its own, without tools: the body. In glacial Europe lived the Neanderthals. Their bodies had been reshaped for the cold, stocky, with short arms and legs. That way, the body loses less heat through the skin. A wide nose warmed and moistened the icy air being inhaled. A barrel-shaped chest held more warm blood inside. Nature sculpted this body over hundreds of thousands of years. Our sapiens ancestors didn't have that much time. They made do with what they had. Let's put together one winter day from all this. Dawn comes late, the sun hangs low and barely warms. The first thing someone does is stir the night's embers back to life. Everyone slept close, pressed against one another, under a pile of hides. The weakest facing winter were infants and the elderly. They were seated closer to the fire and in the middle, where it's warmer. Breakfast from supplies, dried meat, and a piece of fat. Fat is more important than meat in winter. On lean meat alone, a person weakens and dies of hunger. In the cold, the body burns far more energy just to stay warm. That's why in winter you need to eat more while there's less food around. They saved every piece of fat and bone marrow. Some of the fat went to lamps. They found a stone lamp where they burned animal fat. It gave a steady light inside the hut. During the long night in the daytime, they went out to check traps and animal trails. In winter, they hunted reindeer and wild horse. Through a hole in the ice, they caught fish with a bone hook. They didn't eat the catch all at once. Meat was hidden in the frozen ground. Permafrost worked as a natural refrigerator. Supplies from one pit fed a family for weeks. By noon, the short day was already heading toward sunset. In the remaining light, they mended clothes, sharpened points, twisted ropes. Then it grew dark, and everyone gathered close to the fire inside the hut. The cold drove people closer together than in summer. The warmth of the fire, the warmth of bodies, and the warmth of hides combined together. The long, dark hours were filled with conversation and stories. They counted how long the hidden meat would last until the thaw. Who would survive the winter was decided not only by a strong body, but decided by calculation. How much firewood to gather, how much meat to hide, when to go out hunting. Winter taught people to think ahead. This is what the cold really did to us. Heat demanded nothing. In warmth, you can live lightly. Cold every day demanded a plan, a store, and a tool. For the sake of warmth, humans tamed fire. For the sake of clothing, they invented the needle and sewing. For the sake of a roof, they learned to build from whatever was at hand. For the sake of winter, they started to store food and count days. Warm lands humans could have passed through without any of this. Winter taught humans to build, sow, and store ahead. With this set of skills, people stepped into Siberia and beyond the edge of the ice. The first winter survived, opened the way for humans to the whole planet. Now compare that to your own winter. You turn a knob and the room gets warmer. You take a jacket off a rack in a store. Food for the whole winter is kept in a fridge a minute's walk away. The first sewn jacket, the first hut. The people who survived that winter didn't know they were saving us. They simply wanted to live to see spring, and every time they did. That's why today you calmly wait out winter by a warm window. These people survived winter to pass the fire on. Pass it on too. Hit subscribe. It only gets more interesting from here. And in the comments, write the question that's been nagging at you for a while. How did our ancestors live? What did they eat? What were they afraid of? I'll pick the most interesting one and break it down in a new video. So think about what you want to dig into. And I'm off to gather the next story. See you by the fire.